The mornings in Springfield, a small town in Massachusetts, were always wrapped in silence. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Lauren Miller was preparing breakfast for her son Ethan while organizing the day's schedule in her head. Lauren had been raising her 10-year-old son as a single mother since her divorce 5 years ago. Her salary as a medical clerk at the local general hospital wasn't particularly high, but it was enough to support their small life together. "Mom, am I going to Grandpa's house again today?" Ethan appeared in the kitchen, rubbing his sleepy eyes. As a fifth grader, he was on the smaller side among his classmates, but his grades were always at the top of his class. He was especially good at math and reading, and it was his daily routine to read books borrowed from the library every night. "Yes. Grandpa and Grandma will take care of you while Mom's at work. You should be grateful," Lauren answered while gently stroking her son's hair. Being able to leave Ethan with her parents during summer vacation was truly a blessing. Her parents, John and Helen, had warmly supported Lauren when she got divorced. "Is it fun playing with Mike?" At Lauren's question, Ethan's expression clouded slightly. Mike was the son of Lauren's sister Ashley. Ashley lived near their parents with her husband Tom and Mike. The sisters had a good relationship and often consulted each other about child rearing. "It's fun." Ethan's response lacked energy, but Lauren was busy preparing for work and didn't notice the subtle change. "That's good then. You cousins should play nicely together." The commute to the hospital took 20 minutes by car. Lauren continued her routine of dropping her son off at her parents' house before 8 every morning and picking him up around 6 in the evening. Her parents' house was a 30-year-old 2-story building with a flower bed in the garden that her mother Helen carefully tended. Since Ashley's family visited frequently, the house was always lively. That morning too, when Lauren dropped off Ethan, Ashley and Mike had already arrived. Mike was a well-built, active boy who was good at sports. However, he had a somewhat rough side and sometimes behaved in ways that drew adult attention. "Good morning, Lauren. Thank you for taking care of us again today." Mother Helen greeted her daughter warmly as always while watching over her grandchildren. "Thank you, Mom." "Ethan, be a good boy." "Yes, I understand," Ethan answered with a small wave. Lauren felt a moment of unease at her son's expression, but looking at the clock, she saw that departure time was approaching. "Well then, I'm off." Getting into her car, Lauren looked at her parents' house through the rearview mirror. She could see the two boys starting to play in the yard. Mike seemed to be saying something to Ethan while pulling his hand somewhat forcefully. However, Lauren thought it was just typical cousin play and started the car. The day at the hospital was about to begin. Patient reception, insurance procedures, coordination with doctors. Lauren's daily routine was busy, leaving little time to think about her son. About 2 weeks after summer vacation began, Lauren's daily routine had completely settled into a rhythm. Every morning dropping Ethan off at her parents' house, working busily at the hospital, and picking him up in the evening. Thanks to her parents and Ashley's family cooperating to take care of Ethan, Lauren could concentrate on work. "I'm thinking of going to the pool today," one morning, Mother Helen suggested to Lauren. "Both Mike and Ethan like swimming, don't they? The municipal pool nearby is safe, and there are lifeguards." "That's a good idea. I think they'll both be delighted." Lauren looked at her son's face. Ethan had been reading a book, but when he heard about the pool, he looked up. However, his expression didn't have the sparkle it used to. "Ethan, you're excited about the pool, aren't you?" His response of a yes was small and somehow vague. Lauren was a little concerned about her son's demeanor, but Ashley called out from the entrance. "Good morning. Mike, hurry up. Get ready for the pool." Mike answered in a loud voice as he ran down the stairs. "Yay! Pool. Ethan, let's race." "I can't swim that fast," Ethan murmured quietly. "What are you talking about?" "You're a boy, so try harder," Mike said, patting Ethan's shoulder a bit roughly. Ethan winced in pain but said nothing. That afternoon, Lauren was swamped with insurance claim paperwork at the hospital. During summer vacation, there were many patients, and administrative work was piling up. Just then, her cell phone rang. "Mom?" It was Ethan's voice. From the background, she could tell he was at her parents' house. "What's wrong? Are you feeling sick?" "I'm scared of playing with Mike." Her son's voice was trembling. Lauren paused for a moment. "Scared? What do you mean?" "Mike always pushes me and says mean things. Today at the pool, he held my head underwater." "Ethan, that's just cousin play. I don't think Mike means anything by it." Lauren's response was somewhat mechanical, driven by busyness. She actually thought small troubles between children were common. "But, Mom. It's okay. If something really unpleasant happens, talk to Grandpa or Grandma. Mom's at work right now, so let's talk about it later." After hanging up, Lauren felt a little guilty. The fact that her son had bothered to call might have meant it was quite serious. However, looking at the pile of paperwork in front of her, that feeling faded. That night, when she went to pick up Ethan, her son was quieter than usual. "How was today? Was the pool fun?" Ethan's response of an yes was short, and he was reading a book even in the car. Lauren was worried about her son's condition but thought he was probably tired and didn't ask for details. The next morning, when Lauren dropped off Ethan, Father John was reading the newspaper in the garden. "Good morning, Dad." "Thank you as always." "No, thank you." "Having Ethan here brightens up the house," John said, smiling at his grandson. Just then, Ashley and Mike arrived. Mike energetically ran up to his grandfather, but Ethan stood at a slight distance. "Mike, you're energetic. What are you going to play today?" "I'm going to teach Ethan my new game." Mike answered confidently. Ethan looked up at his mother anxiously. Lauren noticed that look but didn't have time. "Well then, I'm off. Ethan, be good." That day, Lauren had a particularly busy day. There was emergency surgery in the afternoon, and administrative procedures continued until late at night. She had little time to think about her son. On Thursday night, Lauren finally had time to talk calmly while having dinner with her son. "How has Grandpa's house been lately?" "Fun." Ethan was poking at his food with his fork but didn't look up. "Normal." "Are you getting along well with Mike?" "Yes." Only one-word responses, and he no longer talked about the day's events with enjoyment as he used to. Lauren became worried but thought it might be changes in her son who was at the entrance to adolescence. Friday morning was the same as any other morning. Ethan was unusually ready earlier than usual. "You're early today. I have a book I want to show Grandpa." Ethan was carefully holding a small notebook. "What kind of book?" "Like a diary. I wrote it." Lauren was surprised that her son was engaged in creative activities. "That's wonderful. Will you show it to me later?" "Yes, sometime." Ethan's answer was vague, but Lauren wanted to support her son's new hobby. When they arrived at her parents' house, Mother Helen greeted them warmly as always. "Ashley and the others might be a little late today. Mike has a dentist appointment. Then Ethan can relax." Lauren looked at her son. Ethan seemed to have a relieved expression. "Mom, is there anything concerning about Ethan's behavior? He seems a little less energetic lately." Helen thought for a moment before answering. "Well, compared to Mike, he's quiet, but isn't that just Ethan's nature? He's a child who likes reading." "That might be true, but..." "You're worrying too much. Children grow through interaction with other children. Besides, Mike is fond of Ethan too." Lauren was reassured by her mother's words. Indeed, she might be getting too anxious. "Well then, please take care of him." Around 2 o'clock that afternoon, Lauren was handling patient reception at the hospital. She was so busy with outpatients that she didn't even have time for lunch. Just then, her cell phone rang violently. "Lauren. This is terrible." Mother Helen's voice was shaking. "What happened?" "Ethan fell down the stairs. I called an ambulance. We're heading to the hospital now." Lauren's mind went blank. "Which hospital?" "St. Mary's Hospital." "Hurry." After hanging up, Lauren explained the situation to her supervisor and immediately left the hospital. While driving, various thoughts raced through her mind. Falling down the stairs wasn't like Ethan. That child was cautious by nature and always acted carefully. When she arrived at the emergency department of St. Mary's Hospital, her parents, Ashley, and Mike were in the waiting room. Everyone had pale faces. "Mom. How's Ethan?" "He's still being examined. Wait until the doctor comes." After waiting for about 30 minutes, a doctor appeared. His expression was serious. "Are you Ethan Miller's mother?" "Yes," Lauren's voice was trembling. "It's severe head trauma. Currently, there's serious brain damage, and he remains unconscious. Tonight will be critical." The doctor's words changed Lauren's world in an instant. "Is there a possibility he'll be in a vegetative state?" The doctor nodded with a heavy expression. "The possibility is high. The family should prepare themselves mentally." Lauren almost collapsed. Father John supported her. "What exactly happened?" Lauren asked in a trembling voice. Ashley answered. "The children were playing together and he fell on the stairs. Mike was with him too, but there was nothing that could be done." Mike was standing as if hiding behind his mother. His face seemed to mix fear with some other emotion. "Wasn't anyone watching?" "I was in the kitchen," Mother Helen answered. "I heard a loud noise and rushed over to find Ethan collapsed at the bottom of the stairs." That night, Lauren spent time at her son's bedside. Looking at the small body connected to a ventilator, she regretted her own carelessness. When her son had asked for help, she had been too busy with work to take him seriously. Now, all of Ethan's changes came rushing back with meaning. 3 months after the accident, on an afternoon in the hospital's private room bathed in autumn sunlight, Ethan still lay in bed without regaining consciousness. Only the regular sound of the ventilator broke the silence. Lauren spent every day from morning to night at her son's bedside. She had taken leave from work and was living by depleting her savings. "Lauren, it's us." Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, her parents and Ashley visited the hospital room. Recently, family visits had decreased to about once a week. At first, they had come almost daily, but as time passed, their visits became less frequent. "You must be tired. Daily attendance must be hard," Mother Helen said in a sympathetic tone. "It's not hard. I'll do anything for Ethan," Lauren answered while holding her son's hand. Father John stood by the hospital room window, looking outside with a heavy expression. Ashley sat on the sofa, seeming somewhat restless for some reason. "Lauren, there's something we want to talk about," Helen began. "What?" "We understand that you've been working hard these 3 months. But face reality," Father John said, turning around. His voice lacked its usual warmth. "Reality? The doctor said it too, didn't he? The chances of recovery are extremely low." Helen's voice was cold. "Give up already. He's as good as dead." Lauren couldn't believe her ears. "Mom, what are you saying?" "We can't provide financial assistance for treatment anymore," Father John continued. "We have our own lives too. Retirement funds aren't infinite." Lauren's heart pounded violently. "Dad, Ethan is your grandson. He's family who shares your blood, isn't he?" "Because he's family, we have to be realistic." John's voice was cruel. "No matter how much more money we spend, Ethan won't return to normal. Then Ashley stood up. And incredibly, she said with a smile. We'll use that money for my child's medical school entrance exams. What did you say? Lauren stared at her sister. Mike is going to become a doctor in the future. His grades are excellent, and I want to get him into a private medical school. That requires considerable money, doesn't it? Ashley's smile looked evil. Are you all insane? Lauren's voice was trembling. We're sane. Mike has a future. But Ethan. Ashley looked at her son's bed and shrugged. He doesn't have a future anymore, does he? Get out, Lauren said in a low voice. Lauren, don't get emotional, Helen said in a lecturing tone. We're saying this because we're thinking of you. If you continue this kind of life forever, you'll break down too. I won't break down. I'll do anything for my son. Ridiculous, John spat out. Stop running away from reality. Ethan isn't coming back. Ashley spoke up again. Besides, the accident was. The accident was what? Lauren pressed in a stern tone. No, nothing, Ashley hastily mumbled. Say it properly to the end. Accidents between children happen all the time, don't they? It was just bad luck. However, Ashley's expression had a shadow as if she was hiding something. You're not family, Lauren stood up. Real family never gives up hope until the end. No matter how difficult it gets, they don't abandon their loved ones. This isn't the time for pretty words, Helen said coldly. Face reality. Money keeps disappearing. Your life will be wasted too. My life isn't wasted. Being with my son is everything to me. You say that, but you really understand, don't you? Ashley said spitefully. Ethan can't hear your voice anymore. Whether you're here or not makes no difference. Those words deeply wounded Lauren's heart. However, she never gave up. Get out. Right now, Lauren pointed to the hospital room door. Never appear in front of my son again. You'll regret this, Helen said finally. How do you plan to live without our assistance? That's my problem. It's none of your business. The three left the hospital room with dissatisfied expressions. She could hear them talking about something in the hallway, but Lauren didn't care. Silence returned to the hospital room. Lauren sat at her son's bedside again and wrapped Ethan's hand in both of hers. Ethan, Mom will never give up on you. No matter how much money it costs, no matter how much time it takes, I'll wait until you wake up. Tears streamed down her cheeks. The loneliness of being abandoned by people she thought were family was painfully heart-wrenching. However, at the same time, her love for her son became even stronger. No matter what Mom and the others say, don't mind them. You're Mom's precious son. I'll never let you go. Lauren continued to shed tears quietly while gripping her son's hand. The hospital room clock pointed to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Outside, the autumn wind was shaking the windows. I love you, Ethan. No matter what happens, that will never change. Just then, she felt something small and hard touch her son's hand that she was gripping. Lauren was surprised and opened her hand. There was a small, folded piece of paper. This is... Lauren's heart began to beat violently. How long had this paper been in her son's hand? The nurse couldn't have failed to notice. Or was Ethan trying to communicate something even while unconscious? Lauren opened the paper fragment with trembling hands. It was a small page torn from her son's notebook, with text written in Ethan's careful handwriting. The moment she read the first line, Lauren's breath stopped. July 15th, Mike pushed me on the stairs. Lauren's heart began to beat violently. July 15th was the day the accident happened. With trembling hands, she continued reading. Grandma was watching. But she didn't help me. Mike said, I wish you would die. Grandma told me and Mike to keep it secret. But I'm scared. I want to tell Mom, but Grandma will get angry. If something happens to me, please give this to Mom. The writing ended there. Lauren gripped the paper while collapsing into the hospital room chair. Her son had sensed danger approaching just before the accident. And when he tried to tell adults about that danger, his grandmother had silenced him. Ethan. Lauren looked at her son's face. You were scared and alone all this time. She remembered that phone call. Her son's voice saying, I'm scared of playing with Mike. Lauren, busy with work, hadn't taken him seriously. Her son had desperately been sending SOS signals, but she, his mother, had missed them. Lauren stood up and looked outside through the hospital window. The setting sun was casting long shadows on the hospital building. For the past 3 months, the family had known the truth about the accident but had kept quiet. And today, their attempt to cut off treatment costs might have been out of fear that the truth would be discovered. The next morning, Lauren visited the hospital's administrative department. I'd like to speak about security footage. What kind of matter would this be? The staff member responded politely. New evidence has been found regarding my son's accident. Before consulting with the police, I'd like to know if there's any footage the hospital can confirm. The administrative staff showed understanding and contacted the security department. An hour later, Lauren was in a small monitor room. We don't have footage of the area around your parents' front door, but we do have footage of the hospital parking lot from the day your mother came to pick up your son, the security staff explained. The footage showed Mother Helen and Ashley having an intense discussion in the hospital parking lot on the evening of the accident day. Both had serious expressions, and there was even a scene where Helen grabbed Ashley's shoulder and said something forcefully. There's no audio recording, but they're clearly having a serious discussion. Lauren watched the footage repeatedly. The two didn't look like they were just discussing concern about an accident. Rather, there was a tension as if they were trying to cover something up. That afternoon, Lauren visited the local police station. The detective in charge was a middle-aged woman who was also a mother. I've heard your story. However, to reopen an investigation of an accident from 3 months ago requires considerable evidence. Lauren showed her son's memo. The detective read it carefully and her expression became troubled. If this is really your child's handwriting, it becomes significant evidence. We'll conduct handwriting analysis and simultaneously begin questioning related parties. Thank you. However, there's something I want to tell you. Family problems are complex. When the truth becomes clear, you might face a reality more painful than you imagine. I don't mind. I want to know the truth for my son's sake. The following week, police reinvestigation began. The first to be questioned was Mike. He was nervous surrounded by adults, but eventually began to tell the truth. I was lying, Mike's voice was small and trembling. What kind of lie? The detective asked gently. I pushed Ethan on the stairs. On purpose. Why did you push him? Because Ethan took my new game first, and I got angry. Mike began to cry. I said, I wish you would die, and pushed him hard. Was anyone else there then? Grandma was there. But Grandma said, don't tell anyone. Next, Mother Helen was questioned. She initially denied it, but when confronted with Mike's testimony and physical evidence, she finally admitted the truth. I was afraid that my grandson Mike would ruin his future. Helen's voice was trembling. But I didn't think Ethan would be so seriously injured. What kind of discussion did you have immediately after the accident? I consulted with Ashley and we decided to make it look like a simple accident. For Mike's future. You didn't tell the truth to your daughter Lauren? I couldn't tell her. If Mike was sent to juvenile detention, Ashley's family would collapse. Ashley similarly admitted to participating in the cover-up. I just wanted to protect my son. But as a result, I ended up abandoning Ethan. Was proposing to cut off treatment costs also for the purpose of hiding the truth? Yes. We thought if Lauren gave up, this matter wouldn't be pursued anymore. As a result of the investigation, Mike was sent to family court on charges of intentionally pushing Ethan and causing serious injury. However, considering his age, he avoided being sent to juvenile detention and received probation. Meanwhile, Helen and Ashley were charged with evidence tampering and perjury. The legal punishment was light, but their reputation in the neighborhood fell to the ground. What shocked Lauren most was Father John's reaction. After the truth became clear, he never once apologized to Lauren. "I didn't know anything," John stubbornly insisted. "It was what my wife and daughter did." However, he never apologized for proposing to cut off treatment costs or for making statements about abandoning his son. "You're an accomplice too," Lauren told her father. "Even if you didn't know the truth, it doesn't change that you tried to abandon your grandson." Family relationships completely collapsed. Ashley was served divorce papers by her husband Tom and lost custody of Mike. Mike went to live with his father but was deeply traumatized. Helen and John became isolated in the neighborhood and eventually had to enter a care facility. There was no longer any family to take care of them. Returning to the hospital room, Lauren quietly spoke to her son while holding his hand. "Ethan, thanks to the message you left, we were able to learn the truth. You were truly brave. Mom is brave too. Thank you for believing in me. Let's continue walking together. If it's the two of us, we can carve out any future." That night, Lauren fell into a deep sleep for the first time in a long while. The questions and suffering she had carried for 3 months had finally been resolved. 6 months later, on a spring day, Lauren was reading a book at her son's bedside. Mike had received probation and began a new life with his father while receiving psychological counseling. The boy deeply regretted his actions and began visiting Ethan regularly. Ashley's divorce was finalized, and after losing custody of Mike, she left town. When she last visited the hospital, she apologized to Lauren with tears. "I was the worst kind of mother. In trying to protect my son, I abandoned my nephew. I don't expect to be forgiven, but I'm truly sorry." However, Lauren's emotional wounds were deep, and it would take a long time to forgive. Helen and John couldn't bear the isolation in the neighborhood and eventually entered a care facility in another state. Lauren never went to visit them. She realized that even with blood connections, relationships without love were meaningless. "Ethan, it's a warm day today," Lauren spoke to her son. Then, something incredible happened. Ethan's finger moved, just slightly. "Doctor? Doctor?" Lauren excitedly called for a nurse. The attending physician rushed over and conducted detailed examinations. "It's definitely more than a reflex. Consciousness may be returning." A year passed after that. Ethan gradually regained consciousness and became able to communicate through blinking. Rehabilitation was extremely difficult, but Lauren never gave up. Through the small changes in her son, rejoicing and grieving, the two continued to walk forward. And 2 years after the accident, during summer, a miracle occurred. Ethan spoke words for the first time. "Mom, thank you." Those words were hoarse and trembling, but to Lauren, they were the most beautiful music in the world. "Ethan, I'm so happy to hear your voice." Lauren embraced her son while shedding tears. "Mom, you were always by my side." "Of course. Mom will never abandon you. That's what real family is, isn't it?" Ethan smiled slightly. That smile was a little different from before the accident, but it certainly told the story of her son's heart returning. In the garden of the rehabilitation hospital, Lauren was spending time with Ethan in his wheelchair. Her son was gradually regaining his words and could have simple conversations. It might be difficult to return completely to his original state, but the two had hope. "Mom, we're strong, aren't we?" Ethan said slowly. "Yes. No matter what difficulties there are, we can overcome them if we're together. Family isn't just about blood, is it?" "That's right. Real family means people who believe in and support each other no matter what. Like us." The setting sun gently embraced the two. Lauren held her son's hand while harboring hope for their future life. They had lost much, but what they gained was even greater. The courage to know the truth, unwavering love for her son, and the bond between just the two of them. In the distance, she could see Mike walking with his father. He came to visit Ethan once a month. Looking at the boy who continued to carry the weight of his guilt while maintaining a sense of atonement, Lauren had complex feelings. "Hello, Aunt Lauren," Ethan, Mike bowed deeply. "Hello, Mike," Ethan answered. There was still awkwardness between the two boys, but there was a sense that they were gradually trying to repair their relationship. That night, in the hospital room, Lauren quietly spoke to her son. "Ethan, thanks to the message you left, we were able to learn the truth. You were truly brave. Mom was brave too. For believing in me. Let's continue walking together from now on. If it's the two of us, we can carve out any future." Stars were shining outside the window. Lauren and her son's new life was filled with the light of hope. Having learned what true family love was, the two had acquired the strength to overcome difficulties. The mother and son, bound by bonds deeper than blood, quietly continued their walk toward tomorrow.